Hello everyone, thanks for joining in with my YouTube channel. You gotta try this. Today we are making the most scrumptious, the dreamiest restaurant style chocolate mousse. To add to the fun, we will also make this dome shaped chocolate mousse with berry sauce in the middle. So let's get started. Here's the list of ingredients, and the complete list will also be in the description box below. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with melting the chocolate on a double boiler. Now I'm using a double boiler here because it gives me more control over the heat. It makes sure that the chocolate melts evenly, smoothly, and slowly without getting burnt. I'm gonna add the chocolate in there and a little bit of butter to make the melting easier. I'm using bittersweet chocolate in this recipe, which has about 70% of chocolate content in it. Now, one of the things that you notice in the restaurant style chocolate mousse is that it has a really rich and high intense chocolate flavor. So if you want that flavor in your mousse, make sure that you use a chocolate that has a really high content of chocolate. Okay, the chocolate looks completely melted. So I'm going to take it off the heat and transfer it to another bowl. Okay, next I'm going to use the same double boiler to cook the egg yolks. Make sure the heat is set to the lowest and you continuously stir it or whisk it. Otherwise, what you're going to end up with is scrambled eggs. I'm going to use the electric mixer here, so that's going to make the stirring easier. And also, it makes the egg yolks airy and fluffy, so you can end up with a really light and airy chocolate mousse. Now, the original recipe calls for raw eggs, but I know some people don't like the taste or the smell of raw eggs. So if that's the case, you can cook the egg yolks this way and use it in the recipe. Okay, so the steam has been coming from the egg yolks for a few minutes. So it's ready. I'm going to take it off the heat and transfer it to another bowl immediately because the bottom of this bowl is still very hot. So I want to prevent it from becoming an omelette. Okay, next I'm going to add half a teaspoon of vanilla extract to the egg yolks. Give it a mix. I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of espresso to the chocolate. Now, we're not making a coffee mousse today, but I'm adding just a little bit of coffee because coffee intensifies the chocolate flavor. So our mousse is going to have the strong chocolatey flavor that we are looking for. Now I'm going to add the egg yolks to the melted chocolate and give it a good mix. Alright, next I'm going to whip the heavy cream. I put the cream into this bowl and left it in the freezer for about 5 minutes. So the cream is super cold and that's going to make the whipping easier and faster. We're using 1/4 cup of sugar in the mousse and I'm going to use half of it in the cream here. So that's going to be 1/8 of a cup of sugar. And I'm going to save the rest of the sugar for the egg whites. Okay, so I'm adding the sugar little by little because if you add all of it at once, it's going to deflate the air bubbles. So the mousse is going to be less airy. Okay, once it looks like this, it's ready. So the easiest way to test, just turn it upside down and if it's not runny or if nothing falls on the ground, that's the right consistency. Okay, next I'm going to beat the egg whites. Now, there's a couple of things we need to remember when we beat the egg whites. I'm using a clean bowl here. Also, I've thoroughly cleansed the mixer as well because if the egg whites get contaminated with other things, it's not going to get whipped no matter how long you whip it for. Also, I brought these egg whites to the room temperature. Okay, I'm going to beat this on a slow speed at first and then I'm going to increase the speed to stabilize the air bubbles. Also, I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of lemon juice to the egg whites, and that's also going to help stabilize the meringue. Again, I'm adding the sugar little by little like we did in the whipped cream. So it looks ready now. You can see the stiff peaks, and that's the right consistency. Now, if you overbeat your egg whites, it's gonna separate into chunks. So make sure that you stop once you see the stiff peaks. Okay, so now it's time to mix everything together. I'm gonna add the melted chocolate and the egg yolk mixture into the whipped cream, and I fold it very slowly and gently, and make sure that you don't do this vigorously, because if you do so, we are going to lose all those precious air bubbles that we've been saving so far. Okay, next I'm gonna add the whipped egg whites little by little at a time. Okay, our chocolate mousse is ready. So I'm gonna add some of this into serving glasses and leave it in the fridge for a few hours to set. I'm going to put the rest of the chocolate mousse into these dome-shaped silicone molds. I'm going to fill about 3/4 of the mold with the mousse, and then I'm going to add a filling that I made with strawberry and blueberry sauces earlier. This is what the sauce looks like once it's frozen. So to make the strawberry sauce, I'm adding a cup of chopped fresh strawberries into a pan, and a 1/4 cup of sugar to it, and keep stirring until the strawberries are cooked. Now, keep in mind that we're not adding any water to this because we want the sauce to be very thick. After a few minutes, the strawberries look soft, so it's ready. I'm going to transfer it into the blender, blend it, and put it in a bowl. To make the blueberry sauce, again, I'm adding 1 cup of blueberries to the pan, and a 1/4 cup of sugar, and after a few minutes, it looks ready. I'm going to put it in the blender, blend it, and transfer it to another bowl. Now I'm going to put the sauces that I made into another small dome-shaped silicone mold, and I'm going to freeze this for a few hours. So this is what it looks like after freezing for a few hours. I'm going to unmold them and put them on a plate. Okay, now I'm first going to add the strawberry filling to the mousse, and then I'm going to add the blueberry filling on top of that. I put them on each other so it forms a shape of a sphere. Okay, then I'm going to cover the rest of the mold with the mousse. Okay, it's ready, and now I'm going to freeze this overnight. We'll come back tomorrow and finish this up by covering the mousse with some chocolate ganache and some garnishing after. Okay, so this is the next day morning. So we are going to make a chocolate ganache to cover our dome-shaped mousse. I'm using the double boiler here again to melt the chocolate. I put 1 cup of bittersweet chocolate in there, and I'm adding 4 tablespoons of butter at the room temperature. Keep the heat at low and let the chocolate melt. And now I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of cream to the chocolate. Once it's all combined, take it off the heat and transfer it into a bowl. Now, this is what the frozen mousse looks like. I'm going to take them off the mold and place them on a cooling rack. Okay, now I'm ready to pour the ganache over the mousse. Make sure to cover all sides. Now you should pour the ganache when it's hot, because when it cools it gets thick and it becomes hard to pour and would not give a nice consistent finish. Now there are two reasons why we froze the mousse when making the dome shape. One, mousse is very soft and does not contain any setting agents like gelatin, so it would not hold the shape when we unmold if it's not frozen. The second reason, the mousse is very soft and would melt right away if we pour the hot ganache on it. So I'm going to let it sit like this for a little bit until the excess ganache drips and dries. And then I'm going to leave it in the fridge for an hour or two to defrost. Here what it looks like once it's defrosted. You can see the edges are not as firm, but it still holds the shape pretty nicely even without any gelatin. So I'm going to cut it and see what the inside looks like. Okay, so we can see the colors of strawberry and blueberry nicely. It's because we made the sauce thick, so it's not runny as soon as we cut it open. So I'm going to garnish this with some strawberry and a mint leaf. Then do a few strikes of ganache with the brush, and this is what it looks like. Now these are the glasses of mousse after being in the fridge overnight. I'm going to garnish this with some strawberries and cherries, and it's ready to be served. All right, let's see what the inside looks like. See how airy it looks? Okay, let's do a taste test. Wow, it's like eating clouds. Very light, just melts in the mouth. It has a very rich chocolatey flavor coming from the bittersweet chocolate. Really, really good. You really got to try this. Okay, we'll see you back with another easy scrumptious food idea. Thank you so much for watching.